Truly a sign of the times for the New Orleans Saints. Hard to figure when you understand that they're still the number one ranked offense in the NFL, even after what's happened the past 2 weeks where they've been held to 24 points total. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv, and for all intents and purposes, not mathematically, mind you, but realistically, the Saints are done in terms of making the postseason in 2016 because of this result from Tampa Bay, where Ricky was on Sunday. The Buccaneers 16, the Saints 11. Snaps the Saints' 4-game win streak at Tampa, and they had beaten the Bucs 8 out of 9 times. No more. Saints were held to under 300 yards. Drew Brees 3 interceptions for the second consecutive week, and the Saints had 13 penalties for over 100 yards. No discipline whatsoever, and that ties the most ever under Sean Payton. So a lot of places to place the blame for this defeat, and the 3 interceptions. Everybody wants to talk about that. 6 picks, no touchdowns for Brees in the last 2 games, but that's not why they lost this game. They lost this game with poor clock management at the end of the first half, and because they dropped 2 touchdown passes, and because they overthrew another open receiver for a 3rd touchdown. Brian, they left 12 points on the field. If you just score 2 touchdowns rather than 3, you still win the game.
Yeah, it is. It's a curious development here, and that graphic told it really well, is that the offense, that's the unit that we've taken for granted over the years. Even this year, it's played well in most situations, and yet the games where the defense has come and played well enough to win, the offense has not carried the load, and that's the part that gets, look, every team is injured at this point, okay? I know they had to tweak their offensive line, okay? They were missing Michael Thomas, but every team is missing key components to their team. So, and I know Peyton's not using that as an excuse, but obviously they didn't play well enough, and Kenny hit the nail right in the head.
Rick?
Well, I mean, Tampa didn't have a good day yesterday. That was a good picking for the Saints to take advantage of, and they didn't. The defense of Tampa played well. I give them credit, but the offense, they sputtered all day long. They didn't do anything, and the Saints should have won that ball game. Anytime you hold a team like that to 16 points, the Saints should have got more points than they got yesterday.
I think yesterday's game is a perfect example of, I know it's an old cliche, but defense does win games and wins championships in the long run, in my opinion. Tampa Bay's offense is not a playoff offense, all right? But what Winston did and Brees didn't was he had ball security and he took care of the football. And they did just enough, all right? They moved the chains at the appropriate time and they turned it over their defense. And this franchise has won games in the past like that.
And another thing that keep getting me with the Saints over and over is clock play.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, the timeouts and stuff, we use them up when we shouldn't need them at the end. I don't understand. And then one time, we called timeout when just should have thrown the red flag. It challenged the play.
I remember that, yeah.
And let that been it if we lost that. But, I know the crowd noise get the offense like the Saints do sometimes, but for us to have a veteran quarterback, and we're just making too many simple timeout calls.
Well, it was a perfect example, what you just mentioned, of the lack of control, discipline, and management of the game. If you're going to take the timeout there, throw the red flag first because you're going to be charged with a timeout. Once you've called timeout, you're certainly not going to challenge after that because that would cost you another timeout because you're going to lose the challenge. So it didn't make any sense. The clock management before halftime on any level made no sense. Now, I understand the thought process, Brian. They're thinking, well, let's run it down, score a touchdown, don't give them the ball back. You can't take that chance because if something goes wrong, which it did, you're dead. What went wrong? Well, they dropped a touchdown pass, and then they get a penalty sack, and that's the end of that. So, can't happen. So their clock management poor. Timeouts, as Ricky said, they do it all the time. Just go back and look at all my tweets, game after game after game. They take timeouts early in halves all the time.
Yeah, and I know it hasn't really been brought up here, but this offense has struggled outside of the Rams game, and there was extra motivation there with Greg Williams involved. Sean Williams has taken over play calling, okay? And they have struggled on offense the last 2 games with Sean calling plays. I'm just saying, maybe it's something, go back to Pete, let Sean run the game, because obviously, Kenny, they're having troubles doing exactly what you're saying, controlling the clock in key situations.
They did okay against the Rams, but that was all about the motivation. And by the way, the Rams apparently stink. And the Falcons did whatever they wanted
Yeah.
against them too. So
No.
maybe that wasn't so impressive anyway. As for Drew Brees, he's still an outstanding NFL quarterback, but he's not had an outstanding couple of weeks here. The travails of Brees are pretty obvious. The completion percentage, still good, but it's down. The yards per game, well, you get that picture. Touchdowns and interceptions, we've talked about that. Consecutive games of 3 interceptions for the first time in his career. It's remarkable. You got to give Tampa Bay a lot of credit. But I have to ask this question, Ricky, just watching what Detroit's defense did to Brees and the Saints and what Tampa Bay's defense did to them. Have people gotten a game plan about how to play the Saints?
Well, I just think that, me looking at Drew every week, he put a lot into the game. He's 100%, game ready and stuff. But when the third and fourth quarter come, I don't see that arm strength on the ball like I usually see the zip and stuff. And that's why these guys, they're breaking on the ball a lot now, you know what I mean? And when you consistent running the plays and defense know what you're running, they're gonna play the ball. And you can see yesterday, Tampa was playing the football. They was trying to get interception from Drew, and that don't usually happen.
Well, it stands to reason that arm strength would start to sap a little bit at this stage of his career, and yet he overthrew Cooks for what would have been a touchdown.
Right, and I mean, you can see when the wind with him, the ball is crispy and it look good, but when the wind against you, you can see the difference. But, you see Winston, those 6'5" quarterbacks and stuff. But I really like Drew, and I think that he's a great quarterback, but he needs a little more help. I mean, I'm looking yesterday, guys just dropped balls left and right, and you can't win like that.
Well, the running game has to be good for the Saints to win. We see that, we know that, we watch it on a weekly basis. More so now when you look at what's happened with the way they've executed in recent weeks. When they've run it well, they've won, and with Drew Brees getting older, they need to do that. On the other side of the ball, the Saints have done a really good job against the run. They've moved into the upper echelon of the NFL against the run. The Saints defense, check it out, and what they've done recently. The most anybody's gained on them in the last 5 weeks as a team is 104 yards. 3 games under 100, and look at the average yards per carry. 1.9, 3.0, 2.8. Ricky, this defense is starting to look like the 1991 New Orleans Saints defense.
Yeah, but Ken, when you can throw on a team, you don't have to run that much.
You're right about that. And listen, Brian, this all comes down to playmaking. It's real simple. In the NFL, you need playmakers to win on both sides of the ball. Bless his heart, 2 straight weeks, Sterling Moore's had potential interceptions. He didn't make the plays. Offensively, Brandon Cooks drops a touchdown pass. He didn't make the play. Travaris Cadet drops a touchdown pass. He didn't make the play. Drew Brees misses Brandon Cooks wide open for a touchdown. He didn't make the play. It's about making plays, and they don't make plays. And Tampa Bay, meanwhile, with balls that are tipped, they come up with a football. Interceptions, playmaking. That's what wins games. It's that simple in this league.
No, I agree. And, look at that third down play where the Saints got the ball back now inside their 5 at the end of the game. B.W. Webb makes a nice play, and Mike Evans gets the ball back, all right? They get a first down, they're game over. Game ended up being over anyway. But, Kenny, you're absolutely right. We've talked about the lack of playmakers. You got Cam Jordan on defense. Craig Robertson didn't play yesterday. Donnell Ellerbe, they play well with Donnell in there. Stephon Anthony made a play or two, also had a couple penalties yesterday. Yeah, they just don't have enough playmakers on defense. And they're playing better than the offense is right now, so go figure.
One of the things about Anthony that's obvious, he's a little bit lost in pass coverage.
Yes.
And I think you can see why they haven't had him on the field,
Right.
although they did move him back inside, Ricky, where he was comfortable last year.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see he played pretty decent, and I mean, he was a little rusty, but you can see he's getting better. I mean, he had 130-something tackles last year, so you know the guy's a tackle machine. You just got to get back acclimated to the game plan.
And with all due respect to Brandon Cooks and to Willie Snead, who's a nice, solid player, Michael Thomas is the Saints' best receiver, and they really missed him.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And you could just tell it. Not only is he a possession receiver, but that guy's he's a vertical threat as well. And you take a player like that, and I got to mention, Kenny, I'm telling Coby Fleener, he's
a non-entity.
He really is. Okay, that's a lot of money spent, and to me, it's not worth it.
Okay, Rick, the other part of this offense for the Saints, we talk about Brees struggles, we talk about dropping touchdowns, and we talk about the running game not being there. The offensive line, by and large, got whipped in this game.
Well, I mean, they was going up against some good defensive linemen. I mean, you got to give Tampa credit. Tampa got 4 studs up there. And I looked at them, Ken. They come off the ball full speed. They got good moves. They swim moves. They rip. They do everything that a good pass rushing team do. And it wasn't that the Saints, wasn't decent up front. It was just that they were going to get some better players than they was. A lot more speed and a lot quicker than some of those guys up there was very physical. So I looked at the matchup between the offensive line and their defensive line. Their defensive line better than our offensive line.
If you're looking for a silver lining, Von Bell looked really good.
Yeah.
I thought he played an outstanding football game. Nick Fairley played well. Cam Jordan played well. But again, Brian, that's a reflection of a defense that is improving.
Yeah, and you take out Kenny Vaccaro, who was having a pretty good year. You take him out of the lineup, Vaughn steps in and plays well. They play the 2-3 safeties, but they just don't have enough going for them right now. But I'll tell you what, going back to Tampa Bay's defense, Kenny, Tampa Bay's linebacking core is solid too. They don't get enough credit, but that front seven's pretty good.
That's a really good defensive football team.
Yeah.
We've seen that all year long. That's why they've won 5 in a row. They don't have to be great offensively. They just need to be efficient, and that's what we saw against the New Orleans Saints. Well, here at sportsNOLAtv, we're always thankful to our good and great friends at Premier Automotive and Toyota of New Orleans, who brings you today's show. And Toyota New Orleans is the proud recipient of the 2016 Best in Town Award for their outstanding commitment to community outreach. Toyota of New Orleans is here to help you find your dream car. Visit toyotaofneworleans.com or stop by Toyota of New Orleans at 13150 I-10 Service Road in New Orleans East and see for yourself the many beautiful cars and deals waiting for you. Customer satisfaction #1 at Toyota of New Orleans, where they're ready to make a great Christmas deal for you. We'll talk NFL when we return on sportsNOLAtv.